a quiet, dimly lit room, filled with memories both beautiful and painful. The air smelled faintly of old wood and stale perfume. The creaking of the floorboards echoed in the silence as Emily walked through the hallway. Her footsteps careful, deliberate. She had not been back in years. The house was a monument to everything she had lost. Every corner, every picture frame, seemed to mock her with the memories of a time when her family had been whole. Before the betrayal, before the lies. Emily paused in front of the family portrait hanging on the wall, her heart heavy with grief and unresolved anger. It was a photo from a time before everything fell apart. Time when they were happy, smiling. But those smiles were nothing more than facades. It was all a lie. You should have seen this coming. The words echoed in her mind, whispered by the person she trusted most. Her own mother. Emily clenched her fists, her nails digging into the palms of her hands. The betrayal still burned like fire in her veins. It wasn't just one person. It was them all. Her mother, her father, her brother. All of them had conspired against her in the worst way possible. The family that had once meant everything to her had torn her apart. The dinner was set. The same grand table she remembered from childhood, polished to perfection. Candles flickered softly in the center, casting shadows on the faces of the family members sitting around it. Her mother, Margaret, looked older now, her hair graying, her face lined with age and regret. But there was still something about her that commanded authority. She was the matriarch, the one who had orchestrated everything. Emily's eyes narrowed as her gaze fell upon her. Her mother had always been the queen of the family. But that crown had never belonged to her alone. Emily's father, Richard, sat beside Margaret, his face stoic and unreadable. There was no warmth in his eyes when he looked at her. It was as if the years of silence between them had stripped them of any remnants of love or compassion. And then there was Ryan, her older brother. He was the one who had promised to protect her, the one who had sworn to always have her back. But it had been his betrayal that had destroyed everything. It had been Ryan who had delivered the final blow, a blow that left her heart shattered and her spirit broken. "Emily," her mother said, her voice cutting through the tension in the room. "It's good to have you back." Emily smiled, but it was not a smile of warmth. It was cold, calculated. She sat down at the table, her eyes scanning the faces of her family. They didn't know it yet, but tonight everything would change. Had been 5 years since that day. The day Emily had learned the truth. The day she realized that the people she loved most were capable of the most unforgivable betrayal. The betrayal had come in the form of a letter. A letter that had been hidden from her. A letter that revealed everything she needed to know about her family's true intentions. Her mother's affair with her father's business partner. Her father's secret dealings with a rival company. Her brother's involvement in an illegal scheme that had nearly destroyed the family's fortune. But the worst part, they had kept it from her. All of them. Emily had found the letter late one night, buried in the drawer of her father's office desk. The words had stung like acid as she read them. The anger had consumed her, igniting a fire inside her that hadn't gone out since that moment. The plan was simple, precise like a surgeon's scalpel. Emily had spent years watching, waiting, learning how to use her family's weaknesses against them. She knew them all too well, their fears, their desires, their insecurities. She had once loved them with everything she had. Now she would use that knowledge to bring them down. Her first target was Ryan. He had always been the golden boy, the one who could do no wrong in their parents' eyes. But Emily knew better. She had seen the cracks in his perfect image, the lies he told, the secrets he kept. The night was young when Emily made her move. She invited Ryan over to her apartment, promising to catch up after years of silence. Ryan, eager to prove that things were back to normal, had eagerly accepted. The moment he stepped through the door, Emily's heart raced. But she held it together, her face a mask of calm determination. "So, how's life been treating you?" she asked, pouring them both a glass of wine. The night was young when Emily made her move. She invited Ryan over to her apartment, promising to catch up after years of silence. Ryan, eager to prove that things were back to normal, had eagerly accepted. The moment he stepped through the door, Emily's heart raced. But she held it together, her face a mask of calm determination. "So, how's life been treating you?" she asked, pouring them both a glass of wine. Ryan smiled, but there was a nervousness in his eyes. Just busy with work. You know how it is." "Oh, I know." Emily smiled, setting the glass down and walking toward the window. "I've been thinking a lot lately, about everything that's happened. And I've realized something." Ryan's face tensed slightly, the muscles in his jaw tightening. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Emily said slowly, turning to face him, "that maybe it's time for all of us to face the truth." The words hit like a bomb. Ryan's eyes widened, his breath catching in his throat. He stood frozen, unsure of what to say. "I know about the affair," Emily continued, her voice cool. "I know about the company. I know about everything, Ryan." The silence between them was deafening. Ryan opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. Emily took a step closer, her voice soft yet deadly. "I'm not here to forgive you. I'm here to watch everything you've built fall apart." It was time. Emily had done everything she needed to do. The web was set. The traps had been laid. Now it was time for the final confrontation, the moment when everything would come to a head. Her mother and father sat in their living room, unaware of what was about to unfold. Emily had already planted the evidence. The photos, the emails, the incriminating documents. All of it had been carefully crafted to make sure their world crumbled in front of them. "Emily," her father said, his voice cautious. "What's all this about?" Emily stood in front of them, her eyes cold, her heart a dark pit of vengeance. "You think you can hide your lies forever? That you can just pretend like nothing ever happened?" Margaret's face paled. Richard's eyes widened with shock. "I'm not here to be a part of this family anymore," Emily said, her voice trembling with suppressed rage. "I'm here to destroy." As Emily walked away from the house, she felt the weight of everything she had done. Revenge had been sweet, but it came at a cost. The family she had once loved was broken beyond repair. And though she had gotten what she wanted, there was no satisfaction in it. The truth was, revenge never truly healed anything. It only left you empty. As Emily looked back one last time, she realized that the family she had once known no longer existed. And maybe that was the price of vengeance. Emily sat alone in her small apartment, the hum of the city outside almost deafening. But inside her there was silence. A stillness that had taken root in her heart ever since the truth came out. Tonight, though, the silence felt different. Tonight it was purposeful. She looked at the papers spread out on the table in front of her. The photographs, the documents, the carefully constructed plan. Her mind raced as she thought back to everything that had happened. Her father's business dealings. Her mother's affair. Ryan's betrayal. All of it. The pieces had been in front of her the entire time. But it wasn't until she'd stood on the edge of losing everything that she realized just how deep the lies ran. It had taken her years to piece together the truth, but now she understood the power of each secret, each lie. She could feel the plan forming inside her like an uncontrollable force, and it was growing stronger every day. She didn't want forgiveness. She didn't want closure. What she wanted was something far more satisfying: retribution. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for the envelope. Inside was the first part of her plan. Evidence. The photos, the messages, the receipts, everything that would make her family crumble in front of her. Each piece was a key that would unlock their destruction. And then there was Ryan. He was the easiest target. So young, so eager to please. So desperate for approval. Emily smiled bitterly. He had always been the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. But Emily knew the truth. She had seen him whispering on the phone late at night, watched him sneak around their father's office. She had seen the greed in his eyes, the hunger for more. Her revenge wouldn't be swift. It wouldn't be obvious. No, Emily's revenge was far more subtle. It would take time, yes, but it would hurt more than any immediate action. She would make her family pay for what they had done to her, one by one. It had been a week since Emily's conversation with Ryan. He had no idea what was coming. He was still riding high on the confidence of being the family's savior, the one who would take over their father's empire. Emily had planted the seed in his mind, though. She had shown him the cracks in the foundation. The whispers of betrayal. Ryan had always been good at pretending, playing the role of the perfect son. But Emily knew the truth. She knew that under all the smiles and charm, there was a man who would do anything to take what he wanted. The first step was easy: manipulation. Emily had planted the seed of doubt in Ryan's mind about his father's business dealings. She'd made him question everything. His father's choices, his mother's silence, his own future. Ryan, the golden boy, was beginning to feel like he wasn't so untouchable after all. The cracks in his perfect image had begun to show. The second step was far more delicate. Emily had gotten a hold of information about one of her father's upcoming business deals, a deal that had the potential to destroy their family's wealth if it fell through. She sent Ryan the information, carefully framed, just enough to make him believe it was his idea, just enough to make him take the bait. The third step was the hardest. Emily knew that Ryan would act. She knew that once she had pushed him far enough, he would make a move to take over the company. And when he did, everything would come crumbling down. The betrayal would be complete. Emily had never felt more alive. The plan was in motion, and there was no turning back. She would make sure her family paid for the years they had kept her in the dark, for the years they had betrayed her. The wheels were in motion, and Emily couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction as the pieces fell into place. The day of the big meeting arrived. Emily had been waiting for this moment for so long that she almost couldn't believe it was happening. She had done everything by the book. She had made sure the evidence was in the right hands. She had pushed Ryan to the edge. And now, she was ready for the final confrontation. She arrived at the family home early in the morning, just as the sun was rising. The house was quiet, still, as though it were waiting for something to happen. Emily walked through the familiar hallways, the place she had once called home, with a sense of purpose. This was it. The moment she had been planning for. Her parents were already seated at the table when she arrived. Margaret, her mother, looked at her with a mixture of apprehension and annoyance, as though she knew something was about to change. Richard, her father, barely looked up from the papers in front of him. He was always so focused on work, so consumed by his business, that he had never truly seen her. "Well, Emily," Margaret said, her voice tight. "It's good to see you. It's been so long." Emily didn't respond right away. She stood there, letting the silence settle in the room. Her parents had always been so careful with their words, always walking the fine line between control and affection. But that was over now. She reached into her bag and pulled out the stack of photos, the business documents, the evidence that would bring their world crashing down. She placed them on the table in front of them with a quiet, deliberate motion. "What's this?" Richard asked, his tone guarded. "Everything," Emily said quietly. "Everything you've hidden from me. Everything you've kept from all of us." The room fell into a heavy silence. Margaret's eyes widened, and Richard's expression turned cold. "You don't know what you're talking about," Richard said, his voice low and defensive. "This is business. This is how things are done." "No," Emily replied, her voice growing stronger. "This is how you've lied to me. To all of us. This is how you've ruined our family." Margaret stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. "Emily, you don't understand." "I understand more than you think," Emily interrupted, her eyes fixed on her mother. "I understand that you both have been living in a world of lies. And I'm done being a part of it." Emily took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. "You've kept me in the dark for so long. You've betrayed me, all of you. But not anymore. I'm not your perfect little daughter. I'm done pretending." Her voice broke, the weight of the years of pain and betrayal finally surfacing. I'm done trying to fix things. It's too late for that. Richard slammed his hand down on the table. You don't know what you're doing, Emily. You can't just tear everything down. This is our legacy. Not anymore, Emily said, her voice steady. I'm taking everything from you.